Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the TinFoil Hat. What's happening, my paranormal junkies? Welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat, and I'm your host, comedian magician Danny Whitson, and we are broadcasting live from the E-United Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 in New Orleans. Guys, we got a great show lined up for you this evening. But first, I would like to say, I want to give a big shout out to Ryan Stacy's new podcast that is streaming live every Monday evening at 5 o'clock called The Skeptical Sleuth. Ryan covers a lot of reports. He kind of breaks it down for you. So definitely something very interesting to check out Mondays at 5 p.m. Also, something for you to check out, some UFO news. I thought this was very interesting. Colonel Carl Neal, another whistleblower. He spoke at the SALT conference, okay? You can hop on YouTube, hop on Google, check it out, look it up. He makes some very interesting claims about the whole UFO phenomenon. Definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. All right, guys. Today's guest, this person, I've heard a lot about. And she's very interesting with some really cool stories, okay? So I tell you what, tune in, get your eyes open, get ready for your questions, and let's get a good welcome for our initiative tarot reader, Bobbi Stout.
Am I in?
She's here!
Hello.
Right.
Intuitive.
Did I mess it up? Intuitive. I told you I would.
Quite all right. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm genuinely thrilled to be here to be able to share my story.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, I jacked up the intro. So do me a favor. Do me a favor, if you don't mind, will you let our viewers know a little more about you?
Okay, well, my name is Bobbi Stout. I was originally born in Los Angeles, California in the late 50s. Do I really have to say the year? But anyway, I am an experiencer. I'm here to share my experience. But I had a lot of very interesting things that led up to my experiences that have gone on through my entire life. So I'm thrilled to be here to share it with you. But one of the things I got from my experiences was that I am extremely engaged in the other dimensional world. Let's just say that is, I'm very intuitive. I can actually remote view. I took a course with Uri Geller. I discovered as I aged that I had these gifts. And I think part of what happened to me, I was given these gifts. But it was still up to me to figure them out and how to develop them. But anyway, that's it in a nutshell.
And now with you, though, you had some very... You've got an origin story, basically, almost like a comic book hero. Bobbi, yes. You've got an origin story. So kind of what happened?
Well, I'll tell you what it was. When I don't know the exact age. I was probably between 3 and 4 years old. And it was typical Southern California. We're talking the 60s. My parents were at a pool party at a friend's house. And this was back in the day when they actually made pools by hand and by tile and all this kind of stuff, you know. And I do know also my grandfather was there. The context of who these people were, I don't really know. But anyway, I was one of these kids who was about as tall as she was wide. And for some reason, my father, I was interested in the pool, put me over. I had little patent leather, black shoes. And I remember sitting right next to me at the side of the pool. And I was sitting on the pool. And, why I was by the deep end, Daddy, got to tell me about that one when I meet you again. But anyway, I was sitting on the pool, dangling my feet in the water, kicking my little old feet and looking at the tile, and bloosh, I went down. And honey, I sunk like a rock, okay? And I flipped over. I remember turning in the water and flipping over on my back. I hit the bottom and I saw the last of the air leave my lungs. And then there was, like you've probably heard many times, that proverbial, there was like a vacuum of white light, bright white light, which is always around, I got to tell you. And anyway, I was basically, I don't know, 12, 15 feet in the air above this backyard in Southern California, saw myself in the pool, was watching the people mill around at the party. I even remember looking over, there was this long, table that had food and drinks and stuff on it. And I remember even noticing that the tablecloth like rippled in the wind. And I was just watching the whole thing from above. I didn't hear anything. I wasn't seeing anything other than I was in the pool and obviously I was dead, right? Suddenly my grandfather saw probably my shoes and no me. And he threw his beer down. I remember seeing the glass break, the foam shoot across the patio. And as soon as he hit the water, right back, that light, that vacuum came back. And then I came to, they revived me at the side of the pool. And of course, unfortunately, the people that are there are all passed now, so I don't have a witness for you. But, I said, Grandpa broke his beer. So they were like, what? And it was after that happened that I know my brain was altered because I began to see things, hear things, just have dreams that would come true. So I was definitely altered in some way. Okay. And it was after that, like I said, and I'm still a very young child, probably 4, then I'm going into 5, that I realize that weird things are happening to me and I don't know why. And at first, all I could remember, and should I just roll with this? Are you good?
Absolutely.
Okay. At first, I would wake up and I would be in odd parts of my house. One time I was even in the backyard. And of course, I struggled for years before I really, I'll tell you about that, how it all came around and I figured it out. But I struggled for years. I thought, was I sleepwalking? Well, nobody ever told me I sleepwalked. And so that was my first knowledge of something was going on, because I would just middle of the night be in some weird place where I hadn't been left. And then on top of it, I would try to turn on lights or anything. And it was like the house had no power whatsoever. It was very scary and very frightening for a little kid. And I remember I would find my way back to my bed and just be terrified. And then things started showing up. I became a very anxious young little girl, and I had sores all the time. I had sores on my arms, on my legs. I mean, and we didn't even know. And my parents took me to doctors. They took me to psychiatrists, to all these different people. And they're like, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong, right? So I went through all of this going, okay, is it real or not? And you really struggle with that. I mean, I struggled for a long time. And then the few people that I ever told, I learned right away that I had to really read the room on that one, because there was a lot of people that weren't ready to hear about it, and did not want to hear about it.
Now, so about what age did you start opening up about this stuff?
Well, I swear, I became so comfortable with them in my very early say through elementary school into middle school. They came frequently, and it got to the point where they would show up and I would just go oh, okay, cool. And then what would happen though is I would see them. There would be like they knocked me out, but I was never afraid. I swear, because I was so young, I was conditioned.
Okay, so I want to back up just a little bit. So you had the near death experience.
Yes.
And you were, it was basically an out of body experience because you saw what was going on while you were in the water.
Watch the whole thing. Yeah.
And then you would have these moments where you would wake up and you wouldn't, how did I get here? How did I get to this room?
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the electricity, the power would be out in your house.
The whole house. Yes. It was, I would go from light switch to light switch in like a hallway and a bathroom, even my own bedroom when I'd make it back in there. Because a lot of times I would be in, like I said, the kitchen, the front room. One time I was in the backyard. And
so what do you think? Do you think you were somehow maybe, drawing the energy out of the electrical box? I mean,
I think it's part of how they cover themselves. That's my understanding. And when I read Whitley Strieber's book, I'm sure you're aware of, called Communion.
Yes, absolutely.
As soon as I read that book, everything started falling into place. I was going, oh my God, pardon my French. Oh my goodness, this is nuts, because this is exactly what actually his book and another book that I had read previously triggered like a landslide of memories that I did not have, and that was a huge turning point in my life when I read the first book, which was called Light Years. It was written by a Swiss gentleman. I don't have it. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I would have given him credit, but it was while I was reading that book and I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like 28, 29 years old or something, just chilling. My kids are playing and I'm reading this book. And I had the first ever crazy panic attack in my life. And I'm like, why am I freaking out about this? What's going on? What triggered me here? And then I realized the more I read the book, I mean, I'd literally be shaking, holding it, going like this. And then the flood through dreams started coming through again. And then just even waking hours, I started remembering things. And it's funny because what I remember, I only remember them coming. I remember the bright white light. I do remember the small ones changing. Like sometimes they came in almost like bodysuits, and other times they came in, it looked like they had hoodies on or little monk's robes. It was kind of weird. It's like, oh, a new season or something. But there was always them, and then another one that seemed to be a leader, right? He was very tall, very slender, very insect looking. He looked like a giant praying mantis. And he would like kind of go like this at me. I always, if anybody knows that movie with Gregory Peck where he's chasing Moby Dick and he's strapped to the whale and he's like, his arms doing one of these. Well, that's how that thing would beckon at me. And I remember him standing. I mean, I can see him clearly. I don't know. I call him a him, but I do. Just standing there, and the little grays, the little bitty ones, the worker bees, I called them, because they seemed to be like the workers and he seemed to be like the leader. Okay.
Now, let me ask you real quick, Bobbi, what age was you when you read the book that it kind of triggered the panic attack?
The first book, I was probably around 28 or 29.
Okay. So you went through pretty much your whole childhood and these weird things were happening, but you didn't really know what was causing it, why it was going on.
I had no clue. And like I said, and when I said things, when I did talk about it, they weren't having it. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
so of course, like, shut up, we don't talk about.
Oh, you're just, yeah.
But it wasn't until you actually almost kind of like opened the windows a little bit and to where it kind of, this is what's happening. This is what you're experiencing. And it was it the, like you said, a praying mantis looking, which I've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Which is once again blows me away, how you hear some of the same things from multiple different people. So, but whenever you started making sense of that, 28 years old, I mean, you're pretty much starting, you're in your adulthood there. So were you, open to telling people about this now?
No, not really, because it was still the early 80s. And because of the fact, though, of course, information wasn't as readily available, because I didn't even research until much, like maybe even 10 years ago, did I look to see if there had been reported sightings in the time frame that I had put it to and all that stuff. So I'm sorry, ask me again. I lost my train of thought there.
Well, no, I was just saying, I mean, in the early 80s, I mean, and plus there was no circles for this stuff. There was no really good communication. So you're on Lonely Island there. And, people, I can only imagine what that would be like.
I tried to tell my most intimate people, and I got, told you're nuts. That's
Of
crazy.
course.
Or you dream. It was all denial, 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 and keep your mouth shut. So yes, I suppressed it for decades. But after reading that book, because of the flood that just came through and the visual part. I mean, I'd always known that I'd wake up in weird places and, the power wouldn't come on and all that kind of stuff. But suddenly the memory of the beings came back. And then I started remembering thought. Well, I thought it was thoughts in my head, but I believe they were given to me. Because one of the first things, and I've always remembered that I was told we as in us are their children. That's what they've told me. And I don't know if they told that to a little kid to make a little kid feel better, but I've always bought it, because like, what did they want me for anyway? I mean, it seemed like they came very frequently. As I aged, it started to become cyclical. And I noticed it was like a 7-year thing, and then it turned into a 9-year thing, and then it quit. And oddly, it quit after I went through menopause. So I'm wondering, hey, was I one of those egg harvester chicks? Do I have half alien kids up there? I'd like to know.
Oh man.
But I don't know, because I don't have that knowledge. I mean, they gave me, I believe they took from me. There was some reason why they wanted me. And so they were getting something, but I do believe that opened my third eye, gave me these gifts. Like I said, I can remote view. I can feel and hear things. I do tarot readings because I want to help people, because I know I finally figured out that they gave me something useful, because I struggled for a lot of years.
At what age did you realize that you were intuitive?
Oh, I knew that in my early teens.
So you knew, okay. So you knew you could do those things, but it wasn't till when did you start actually, doing the readings and
Probably I've been doing them for at least 20 years.
okay.
I used to just do them on just me. It wasn't until I had a very bizarre occurrence with, unfortunately, a murder victim, that I decided that I wanted to use essentially a buffer, is what I call the tarot cards. So I started studying tarot, and I joined an international group. I'm all accredited here, because I take this extremely seriously. I mean, what I do is with people's lives. So I did that in order to, I know, like I said, it's almost like it's a buffer. I feel more shielded, less vulnerable. Although, as I've learned and gone through my training, I have learned how to do protection things. Now, I'm not a witch. I will never claim I'm a witch or anything like that, but I do know how to talk with whatever you want to call it, source, universe, God, whatever floats anybody's boat. It's all the same thing, trust me. But anyway, whatever label you put on it. But I learned that I could ask for that and be in tune and listen and all those things. So they did gift me, but took a heck of a long time to figure it out.
Well, I've always found that kind of interesting about people who have these capabilities, that because I mean, where do you get the confidence? Because it's almost like, where do you get the confidence to trust what you're experiencing is real, to take it out to the outside world, to say, hey, let me give you a reading. And, do you understand where I'm coming? I mean, there has to be a point somewhere to where you're going back and forth, like, what's going on? Am I right about this? Am I wrong? Am I just lucky? When does it hit that you're like, this is more than luck?
When I was a teenager, when I realized that the things I was hearing, the things that I was seeing, the things I were dreaming came true. Okay. And so it was very early on that I realized. So, but like I said, I did keep it on the down low for a lot of years. I mean, I think one of the first people I really ever confided into was my daughter, to be honest with you, and told, a few family members and very few friends. I mean, well, I'm out now, but there's some people that didn't know this about me, so yes, I am.
And that's gotta be a pretty crazy, wild moment, because like, when you're like, I saw this happen, but I didn't tell anybody ahead of time, so it's like, no one's gonna believe me. So you got to find that one person that you could go to. Also, guys, I see you guys right over here in the comments. Lisa, Liv, Welcome, Blank Wall. Thank you. First time here for a live. Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Guys, if you have any questions at all, put them up here. We'll get them up on the screen, and Bobbi will answer your questions to the best of her ability. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking this out. But what you believe now, and it was like after you read the book, you believed it was and I don't know, do you want to call them aliens, interdimensional beings, or they were the ones that were giving you this capability?
Yes. Well, I believe, or they chose me because there's no way you can drown. And this is an interesting thing. When I was on a Zoom call one time with a bunch of tarot readers, there was a bunch of us that had drowned as children. So I believe, and I focus and I meditate and I ask for things, and I hear things all the time. Of course, people go, don't tell you to hear things. Well, okay, I do. I hear things all the time. But most of the time I'm asking. That's why I have the confidence. I have learned, I have trained, and I have learned to trust what I hear. I've learned to trust it. So it's like, I think anybody could truly do what I do. It just, everybody has levels and scales of ability. I just think some are better than others, because of talents, whatever. But
Absolutely. I agree.
When you said about the courage, it's because I just believed in myself. And then, like I said, and they told me that too. I mean, basically I was told, you're right. Yes, this is it. And and I forgot to say, they do manifest, like when I'm doing readings and when I know I'm on track, all of a sudden my hair will just stand up all over. Just all my hair will stand up, or my nose will suddenly go crazy and it's tickling. So they will give that. But most of the time I just they talk to me, and occasionally I will see like a clip, like a short, not even a 15-second commercial break, but I see snapshots is what I'll say to people. But I just believed in myself. I just realized that the struggle that I had been through and had been in denial for so many years was part of the process. And so I accepted that. And as soon as I accepted that, I was able to develop myself even better. Instead of fighting against it, I embraced it and welcomed it in. And, and sometimes now it's not so cool because I could, like, crowds will really get to me. I have a hard time getting in large groups of people because there's so much energy around me that I'll get like, okay, time to go kind of thing. But it truly is. I believe that whatever they took from me, and I know they must have, they did help me with this because of a family full of people. And, and a side note here I'll mention is my father, ironically, spent his entire life working as a subcontractor for NASA. He started with the Saturn projects all the way through Apollo, and he retired from space shuttle. So I had a link, already had a link anyway. But as far as your question, I think the label alien is anything that's not on this planet. I think they are able to dimensionally cross. I absolutely believe that. And they've been around forever. That I know. They told me they've been around forever. We're kind of like I hate to call it a lab experiment, but that's kind of a good way to put it. Now, truly.
Well, you said, you had mentioned earlier, like you are our children. So do you think that's kind of like what's going on? Because I've heard that theory that, we are kind of like their experiment. They, have come here and created us, and they're, checking in to see, how things are going. But how do you feel about that?
I believe that at least the ones, now I know there's more than the two I'm very familiar with. I believe the ones that had contact with me were benevolent. I think that they were here to help the species, right? And I believe they've been tinkering with our DNA for a long, long time, and this is just, it's like I heard these things and I just knew they were truth. I don't know if that happens to anybody else. It's just, I know the truth when I hear it.
Well, when you think about it, and you got to look at this as, and I'm not trying to, this isn't a fantasy. This isn't, joke time. But whenever you look at a rational thought, when you look at human beings and other things on this planet, okay, guys, we're different. I don't know if anybody's told you or you've noticed. Now, I don't think we're the best species on this planet. I'm going to be honest. We're definitely the worst. But, I mean, why would we evolve the way we did evolve? And you look at other, animals, everything. I mean, yes, they evolved from, all these other things. But for the most part, they kind of, they still have hair all over their body. They still have these things. We're so different. We are so different. And realistically, in a short amount of time, if you take a look at, if you do believe in evolution, and if you take a look at an ape and you bring it to us now, that's a ginormous change in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. On evolutionary process, things that take millions and millions and millions of years, So it's hard to believe that there wasn't some tinkering involved.
No, I totally believe I think they tinkered first with us genetically to bring us up intellectually. And I think then they started hitting us with technology. Although I do believe that they might have jumped the gun on that one, because I'm not too sure that we were quite ready for that. Kind of look at what's going on now. But I do believe that's what it was. It was some kind of, experiment. And like I said, from the earliest age, I have known and I've always heard we are their children.
That's interesting. There's even been I don't know if you've heard the Jimmy Carter, President Carter story that, of course, President Carter was a experiencer himself. Yeah. He got into the White House. He tried the Dickens to find out everything he possibly could. But that didn't really get him too many places. But they do say that he was briefed and he told exactly what we're talking about now. Mm-hmm. Is that basically the whole human race is we're an experiment.
Yeah.
And now to me, and apparently it bummed him out really bad. I don't know. I don't think it's a bummer to me, because either way, whatever you do believe, we're somebody's experiment. So, But you can't help but wonder that. You can't, because you wonder, why would they be here? Why are they coming here? Why are they messing with us? I mean, now your experience, doesn't sound like it was a dreadful one or a scary experience for you.
It wasn't. I was never frightened. That's the whole thing. I was never scared. Like I said, I think because I was taken so young, that I was so conditioned that, like, when they'd show up, I was like, oh, no, who cares? I do think there is a benevolence to it, but there's also a goal. But I'm not sure of what that goal is. I'm not privy to that information.
And see, that's the one thing, because there's some people who have terrifying experiences. It terrifies them, and the hills, with if you ever hear the recording of they put him under hypnosis, and I mean, Barney, it's terrifying.
Well, yes,
to hear him explain that. But I mean, there's other people who have had some really, scary episodes too. But I tell you what, I do want to touch base. We're going to talk back that a little more. I want to talk about some of your intuitive capabilities as well. And, just keep it going. And guys, come back with your questions right after these messages. We're going to take a quick break to give a shout out to the sponsors and get those questions ready for Bobbi, because she's got your answers. We'll see you guys. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, welcome back, my paranormal junkies. If you're just now tuning in, we have been talking to the intuitive tarot reader, Bobbi Stout. I tell you, right before we cut out there, we were talking about. Hold on, did I lose my place too, Bobby? Where are we at?
I was trying to go so fast.
You're not the only one who loses. Here we go. I've lost time. Wait a minute. I may have been abducted. I don't know. But in the well, I tell you what, you had these experiences. You feel like this is kind of what triggered, kick things off.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is kind of like you do readings now. You do you do the public readings. You've got your show. I mean, didn't you say you got a YouTube channel that you do, correct?
Yeah, I do it on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. I'm all over the place. And I have my own webpage. So
I tell you what, now you're these days you have to be. We do got some questions though right over here in the comment section that I'm seeing. Christina has one. Can we get that question up here on the screen? Let's see. Here we go by Christina. Bobbi, I am curious if you experience lucid dreams due to your encounters.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Not always. I mean, I dream every night, but the ones that I know that have meaning, that I am being given a message, because I completely and utterly believe I am given messages. Matter of fact, one time I actually prevented what I believe is a pretty close to fatal injury on someone. So yes, I have very lucid dreams. They're in color. When I wake up, I only started dream journaling the last few years. Before that, it would just be so like my death scene that I can play in my head. They would stay with me for days. And so I knew there was a reason why. And so, like I said, now I document them. But I used to just like go, okay, what is this about? And usually it was about a person, an individual I knew. And I got to the point where I would tell them like, hey, I had this dream about you, because people will accept that. Like you say, you had a dream. So they're like, oh, what did you dream about me, huh? That kind of thing. But I actually had a dream one time about a guy, and I saw him out motorcycle riding in the desert, and I saw him flip out and crash. And I knew it was bad, right? Well, it happened to be my boyfriend at the time. Well, he didn't own a motorcycle, so it didn't make sense to me. But he calls me the next day, and we were supposed to do something that weekend. And he goes, hey, my uncle called me. He wants me to go motorcycle riding out in the desert this weekend. I flipped out. That was like the first one, really. And I totally flipped out. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And I told him, and I scared him so bad that he didn't go. So his uncle ended up taking another, I don't know who it was, cousin or something. And that kid did get injured and kind of fell down a ravine or something. So, that was when I was probably 15 or 16. So that was another one of those real confirmations, like, okay, this stuff means something. You're getting these for a reason.
I'll tell you what. All right, we got another question. And first of all, big shout out to Live Light. She's like our every show she comes with the best questions ever.
Yay, well, that was a great question.
Here we go. Hi, Bobbi. Do you believe all of us have the innate, did I screw that up? Intuitive abilities. You guys are going to make me say intuitive a bunch. How should we develop these abilities?
Okay, the best way that I have found is through meditation. And I know everybody has busy, hard days, but even if you start with only 5 minutes of just quiet time, and there's all kinds of apps you can put on sounds, or you can even find guided meditations. Calm is a good site, different things like that. And that is where that you will get into that place where the outside world will be closed out, and you'll start be able to receive the inside world, or whatever messages you're supposed. That's the best way I can describe it. Whatever messages you're supposed to receive. But meditation, huge. And yes, we all have the gift. It's just, I think I got a kickstart because of whatever happened in my brain when I drowned.
I really wanted to look more into meditating, because it's something that not only, it's healthy. Regardless, yes. It's healthy. One thing that we all have a hard time is managing is stress in our lives. And a lot of us go to unhealthy options to deal with it. I'm one of them. So I've wanted to look into, I've checked out the Calm app. I don't know much about it, but there's things I want more better way for myself. And I think that's, I think that's a great way.
Because you have to, well, what is that? I'm not sure I know what MilLabs are.
Okay. Blank wall, Bobbi, what are your thoughts on the MyLabs? I tell you what, Blake, I don't know what are the MyLabs. If you want to pop it up and maybe break it down for us a little bit. Not sure.
I'm not sure what those are.
But if we know what they are, we'll definitely tell you. She'll definitely tell you what her thoughts are.
That's what I was dreaming. I was taking my
maybe is it a type of entity? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't bother researching anymore. I really don't. I don't feel the need. I just know what happened, and I know the gifts I received, and I'm just using them to my best ability.
Military abductions. I'm sorry, Bobbi. Military. Oh. Yeah, you got to remember, I'm still learning the jargon and the slang too. Overall, I'm new to the world.
So what was that again? Military?
Yeah, the military abductions. Interesting.
If they're doing it because they've been taught something, they learned something, and they're experimenting. If that's the case, that's my opinion, because they wouldn't have gained knowledge and had the ability if they hadn't had the contact, which we know they have. Didn't the government come out and say recently, they finally admitted, yes, they're here. I mean,
I
look at
was just
Renaissance paintings. There's freaking spaceships in Renaissance paintings. They've always been here.
I was just watching the SALT conference with Colonel Carl Neal.
Yeah.
And, now one thing I will say this, one thing that I always have a hard time with some of these whistleblowers that it just makes me wonder is some of the terminology that they use, like non-human intelligence. It's a very broad statement. And it always makes me wonder, there's two reasons why you're saying that. Either you know what it's not, or you don't have a clue at all.
Yeah.
So very interesting. But we got another question by Liv. I want to knock these questions out as they come. Let's see. I thought it was interesting. You drew the magician card this morning.
I did.
Can we use the tarot just for ourselves, for our own guidance?
Okay. I do not recommend it. Okay. And from all my training and teaching, it's really not a good idea. Now, it's not bad to pull a daily card. And if you did that, oracle cards, there's tarot cards and there's oracle cards. I would recommend oracle cards for that. Tarot is a lot more complex. It's a bigger story. You have to learn to combine, put together, all that stuff. And if you're reading for yourself, come on now, we're human beings. We want to either sugarcoat it or we want to go for the blood, right? So it's not recommended that you really truly do it for yourself. So if you're having some kind of struggle, I do recommend going to whoever you consider a proper counselor. That could be a person like me. It could be a priest. It could be anybody, whatever will help you. Right. But to do it on your own, it's not a good idea.
That makes a lot of sense. Just like, doctors shouldn't self-diagnose themselves.
Thank you. Exactly. It's the same kind of thing. I mean, I could sit here and be pissed off at my husband one day and start throwing cards and go, I knew it. You could very easily taint it. So that's why you just don't want to do that. I don't personally even like to read for very close family members because I know too much. And so I never want anything that may come through that's me and not them, let's put it that way, because of my emotional entanglement with close relatives or even friends. Although I wouldn't, I will say what the cards say, but I might sugarcoat it a little bit. So yeah.
And I mean, believe it or not, that's easy to do. Like, this is a completely different topic, but a lot of people ask me, hey, did you see the magician on TV the other night? And I'm like, no, I don't watch a lot of magic tricks or comedy and stuff because I don't like outside sources polluting my creativity. And, sometimes it can influence things and you don't want, it's a little different topic, but I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's perfect point. Perfect case in point.
You want to keep things as fair and, as possible. Now you said oracle cards. What's the difference between oracle and tarot?
Well, tarot cards are way back from the 13th century, and they actually started as a card game in Italy, and they became divination in I believe the 17th, 16th century. Oracle cards came out much later, and they can be like any amount. Tarot decks all have 78 cards. They have 22 major arcana. Then they have 15, whatever it is, the minor arcanas. Oracle cards still are great for divination, but they, like I said, they can be anything. And they can be 25 cards, they can be 50 cards, and they can be on, any kind of genre as far as the illustrations, and they're up to the authors and their intuitive ideas and suggestions. Tarot is ancient and old and has a standard. That's
okay. Well, we got a fantastic question from Liv. With all your interdimensional experiences, what do you believe is the biggest message for humanity from our intergalactic friends?
Okay, I like that question. Thank you very much. I believe the message is that we are all one. Okay, we are all one. We are all children of the cosmos. We're all stardust. I mean, do you guys realize that even as we're sitting here now, particles from the universe are passing through our bodies? I mean, we are stardust. I know people are going to go, okay, there she goes, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, yes, I think that was the biggest message, that we truly are one. And like I said, at least the ones that I know and that have partaken of my body and my life and the things that they've given back to me have been benevolent in nature. I really do. Even though the struggle was real, it has turned out to be a very positive thing in my life. It truly has. Just took a long time to get there. So, but yes, we are one. We are all of the same. I don't know what atoms, atomic.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, we're all the same. We're all the same atoms. We all have stardust from the Big Bang or the beginning of time. We're all. I mean, that's not crazy or some weird wacko. No, that's fact. That's science.
yeah,
So and yeah, we are all connected. And I was just having this. It's weird the way you said that, because I was having this conversation yesterday about how the trees it need us. We need the trees. Everything that we all support each other. We're all in this together.
yes,
So it's I think whatever they are, or whoever they are, I think we're connected. We're all connected. And I also found this kind of funny, Bobbi. Since I have opened, I came from a very skeptical world, very atheist, not believe anything, type of world. And since my doors have been slung open and the windows, raised, it's opened me to a broader thinking, just maybe on a spiritual, on a lot of things. And a lot of people sometimes will associate anything paranormal to dark, and that's not true at all. It's not true at all. So, and I believe that it's all connected: the paranormal, the UFO phenomenon, everything, even your cryptids stuff that's happening. Blank Wall has popped in here with a question. Bobbi, have you ever had a near-death experience? Yes, she has. She had talked about it earlier in the episode. If you just want to just touch base really quick, just to give him just a
sure. I drowned as a child. I was out absolutely dead, and I saw the whole thing. There was minutes. I mean, I was definitely at the bottom of a pool for minutes and minutes and minutes, watching the whole thing going on until I was brought up and revived. And that was the beginning of my journey, because it changed me.
That was Bobbi's origin story. That's her comic book hero origin story. That's where her superpowers have began.
I guess. Boy, if I have superpowers, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now. But because people tell me all the time, they'll say things like, "Well, wow, if you see this and you see that, why aren't you doing this?" I said, "Because I'm not supposed to know everything. I'm only given snapshots. I'm only getting a little bit of information. This is not what it's all about. It's part of my journey, and I'm here to learn. But if I had been given all knowledge and total awareness, honey, I'd be on a desert island with a tropical drink with a bunch of pretty little boys waiting on me. So come on,
scratch offs.
But lottery tickets every Wednesday. I'd be doing it.
Okay, Liv's got, and this is a great question too, because this is something I kind of wondered about too when you said, Liv Light, you said the visitation stopped during your menopausal time. Do you think they are waiting for you to contact them? Your hybrid children may be waiting, Mama.
That's really interesting, because I thought about that, because there's been, and of course after, and when things became more public, I was obsessed, and so of course Ancient Aliens and every book I could get a hold of and things like that. So I did research, and so I've heard a lot of the theories involved, and obviously they followed me, because I moved all over this country for years and years and years, and they always found me. So I don't know if I had a tracking device. I have no idea. But either way, I think that I have tried to, I've gone out some nights, and I've sat out there and I've meditated, and I've said, are you done with me, or do you want to show me anything else? Is there anything I need to know? And I've actually searched, and I've come up with a whole lot of nada. So I really think my case is closed. I truly believe that's it, because I have tried for several years, and especially when I became more awakened to this and when it became more acceptable, I thought, well, why did you guys go? How come you haven't been back since it's been? Well, I don't know. They might show up again, because it's pushing about 9 years now. So maybe they're just waiting. Maybe, I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't know. I truly don't know.
Well, that's definitely an interesting point. We've got another question from Christina. Bobbi, I was also wondering if you've also experienced sleep paralysis during any of your experiences. A great question, Christina.
Not at all. Matter of fact, one time when the little grays had come and surrounded my bed and my husband was in bed with me, and I was like, and I wanted him to see him. I was like, I want him. And I am kicking this guy. And he is like dead. And that's something else too. I swear they knock out everybody in the household because there was absolutely no response. And I was kicking him, trying to get him to wake up to see them. And he never did, never moved, never nothing. And then I just was like, happy to go.
A lot of people do experience, a sleep paralysis while they're having these other, the alien abductee experiences as well. And I've never been one. I don't think sleep paralysis is an explanation for what's happening. I just believe it's what's going on in the physical world, but something else is going on in the conscious spiritual level with these things.
Well, doesn't it go back to the incubus and succubus thing where
absolutely.
Yeah. So, I do know about sleep paralysis. I just know I have never experienced it. I absolutely had full capability of my body. I did until they took me, and basically boom, white light and wake up later.
Gotcha. Well, we've got questions just rolling in left and right. Live Light. Have you attended the CE5 event?
Have I attended a CE5 event? Now, which one is CE5? When you actually are on a ship? Is that what it is? Because I forget. I mean, I am on, is it Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer's site? You know who he is?
I believe, is that where he does you go out to the desert and they kind of do the meditation?
Yeah, he does all that stuff. And he's been a big vocal person. But I forget what a 5 is. I know there's different levels. Is the 5 being taken on a ship? Because
I think 5 is, yes.
If that's the case, then all I know is that I was aware of sitting and bright light, and that's it. I don't know where I was. I don't remember. Well, there's kind of like shadowy, like there might have been other people, but I was just so cool with everything. I swear it was because I was conditioned from a very young age. So, I definitely was going somewhere, and they were doing something because, like I said, I had unexplained things on me.
And Liv, she put in the comments, making contact. So yes, well, you have definitely made contact.
Oh yeah.
And she's got another question here by Liv. Have you ever had hypnosis done to gather further details about the experiences?
I've never had hypnosis. I have done through my own meditation. And one time in a class I was taking with Uri Geller. If you don't know who he is, look him up.
I definitely know.
Yeah.
A lot of people know Uri.
Yeah. I took a course with him, and that's when I was doing the remote viewing. And it surprised me even what you're capable of doing. I mean, he was giving us targets and I was like nailing them, and we were even drawing them, and he would go, okay, this is what I drew. And I would go, oh my God, I drew it too, And so it's like, it was nuts. It was really something. So
gosh, I could, now, and like with the whole remote viewing, I mean, once again, that's real. That's stuff that, the government has put money into, there's actually ways to do it. And I would say also connected with, your ability, to do what you do, goes hand in hand.
It's so hard for me to explain because I don't think there's really any true correct terminology, but all I know is I trust what my brain is showing and telling me. I've learned to trust and then go with that first thing. Go ahead.
When you think of it, Bobbi, too, which is really odd because we're usually taught to do the different, like question. Oh, come on. You know what I mean? But once you do trust it, I'd say that's the first step to, noticing these things. And I'm with you. I think everybody has an ability, but some people are a little better. Like, I can shoot a basketball, but I'm not LeBron James, So I think, that's the case with that. I do tell you what, time has really flown by, and I told you it would. These episodes go so fast.
Oh, too fast.
I do want to say thank you guys so much. Liv, Christina, Blank Wall, Lisa. I look forward to talking to you, Lisa. If I left anybody out, the guys were fantastic with your questions. Thank you for showing up and checking us out live. Bobbi, before we get out of here, though, where can they learn more about you? Where can they check you out?
You Google Earth and Water Tarot. I have a website. I'm on YouTube. I highly recommend the YouTube. I do daily readings. I do weekly readings, monthly readings, and I do private readings. But you guys, any kosher, and I'll tell you this right now, any kosher tarot reader will never approach you. Okay. I will never approach you. And so if you're interested, though, Earth and Water Tarot, that's where you'll find me.
And you just say you're on TikTok and you do when do you do your YouTube show?
I do YouTube every morning. Well, I do Monday through Friday because I do the days of the week and the weekend, and then I'll do a monthly reading. I did a yearly reading for this year, and weekly readings. So, but I'm on there pretty much every day YouTube. I just take a couple days off on the weekend because girls got to have a life, right?
Absolutely, you got to have a life. And then on TikTok, we can find you on TikTok too.
Yes, I'm on TikTok as well. Same thing. Well, I think it's either Bobbi Stout or Earth and Water Tarot. I'm brain farting.
Gotcha.
Right.
So we can just do a search, Bobbi Stout. You'll pop up. This has been great, Bobbi.
Thank you so much.
So much cool stuff there. And I tell you what, we're going to have to get you back on the show to even talk more.
Yeah, because I didn't get to describe the dudes. There's a lot about those dudes I could tell you too. I mean, yeah. So I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Bobbi, we would love to have you back. And, like always, thank you for coming on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. This was great.
Thank you for letting me have a platform. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the intuitive tarot reader, Bobbi Stout. See, I didn't mess it up. Yes. This was a great episode. Great questions. Thank you guys so much. If you have not done so, follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends. Let them know. Have them show up here at 6 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. We got some great guests, some great episodes coming up. If you guys have not done so, head over to Patreon, Heed the World. Make a little $4 donation. Get to check out some really cool articles posted by Ryan Stacy. And if you haven't, check out Ryan Stacy's show on Mondays at 5 p.m. called The Skeptical Sleuth. He covers some really cool topics. Guys, we are streaming live and broadcasting live on the E-United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM and on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Guys, this has been Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. I'm your host, Danny Whitson. I'll see you guys next time. All right, that does it for this episode of Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. A big shout out for tonight's awesome guest, and a bigger shout out for everyone who tuned in. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And like always, be sure to stay curious, heed the world, and keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and this has been Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.